Martin asks, Ruby, what goes for the happenings currently and soon thereafter? Ruby answers, we'll have the same old crapola and nonsense abounding almost everywhere, the same as during all of history, except with our special friends or as alone in a fine solitude of creativity. Radical fundamentalists from the mythical age are still making trouble, as well as others having their crazy fun with dementals. Also, global warming has reached into frozen grounds to expose ancient pathogens against which we may have no immunity. Martin replies, thorns have roses. Ruby says, our rosy future can't be built in a day. If only nobody nowhere could repair the antenna broadcasting the cosmic DNA, we'd be more than fine. If we were angels, life would be so just. Instead, we try, we push, we climb, we lust, we dance, we dream, we feel and love with zest. Yes, all this, thanks to the beast within us. The general human recipe from evolution produces a spectrum of behaviors, ranging from angelic to devilish, and all in between. Or, if one wishes, the recipe was purposely intended by God, in his perfect thinking, planning, design, and implementation, as no surprise at all to him in the ingredients expressing all of such that we are, or it is that we are doomed, God's human design of Adam and Eve having failed in the blink of an eye, God not at all responsible for his own invention, it said, but Adam and Eve fully to blame, as well as us not even born yet. As said, myth-making often runs into paradox as myth-taking. Martin notes, I've had some of those very special moments in the zone you referred to a while back, from writing, reading poetry, and being in love. Ruby says, Amen. Martin says, I'm still not sure how the ever-increasing disorder of entropy can go on to constitute orderly mechanisms, although I realize that we have a sun inputting energy to our world. Ruby replies, yes, that's part of it. It's due to energy's decay in quality, not quantity, as being very useful toward temporary formations going forward.
All that lies between. Energy is a beauty and a brilliance flashing up in its destructance, for everything isn't here to stay its best, it's merely there to die in its sublimeness. Like slow fires making their brands it breeds, yet ever consumes and moves on, as more it feeds, then spreads forth anew, this unpurposed dispersion, an inexorable emergence with little reversion, ever becoming of its glorious excursions, through the change that patient time restrains, while feasting upon the glorious decayed remains in its progressive march through losses for gains.
Energy is a beauty and a brilliance, flashing up in its destructance. For everything isn't here to stay its best, it's merely there to die in its sublimeness. Like slow fires making their brands it breeds, yet ever consumes and moves on as more it feeds, then spreads forth anew this unpurposed dispersion, an inexorable emergence with little reversion. All becomes from its glorious excursions, through the change that patient time restrains, it feasting upon the glorious decay remains, in its progressive march through losses for gains. Energy is a beauty and a brilliance, flashing up in its destructance, for everything isn't here to stay its best.
We have oft described the causeless, that which was always nevertheless, as well as the beginnings of our quest. and to have detailed in the rarest of glimpses the slowing end of all of forever's chances. So then we must now turn our attention keen to all the action that exists in between, all that's going on and has gone before, out to the furthest reaches, evermore. For everything that ever happens, including life and all our questions, meaning every single event ever gone on of both the animate and the non, is but from a single theme played upon. This then is of the simplest analysis of all, for it heeds mainly just one call, that of the second law's dispersion, the means for each and every occasion, from the closest to the farthest range, that which makes anything change. These changes range from the simple, such as a bouncing ball resting still or ice melting that gives up its chill, to the more complex, such as digestion, growth, death, and even reproduction. There is excessively subtle change as well, such as the formations of opinions tell and the creation or rejections of the will. And yet all these kinds of changes of course still become of one simple, common source, which is the underlying collapse into chaos, the destiny of energy's unmotivated non-purpose. All that appears to us to be motive and purpose is in fact ultimately motiveless, without purpose. Even aspirations and their achievements ways have fed on and come about through the decay. The deepest structure of change is but decay, although it's not the quantity of energies say that causes decay, but the quality, for it strays. Energy that is localized is potent to effect change, and in the course of causing change it ranges, spreading and becoming chaotically distributed, losing its quality but never of its quantity rid. The key to all this, as we will see, is that it goes those stages and so it doesn't disperse all at once, as might one's paycheck inside of a month.
This harnessed decay results not only for civilizations but for all the events going for in the world and the universe beyond, it accounting for all discernible change of all that ever gets so rearranged, for the quality of all this energy king declines, the universe unwinding, as a spring. Chaos may temporarily recede, quality building up for a need, as when cathedrals are built and formed, and when symphonies are performed, but these are but local deceits born of our own conceits, for deeper in the world of kinds the spring inescapably unwinds, driving its energy away, as all is being driven by decay. The quality of energy meant is of its dispersal's extent. When it is totally precipitate, it destroys, but when its gate is geared through chains of events it can produce civilization's tenets. Ultimately, energy naturally, spontaneously, and chaotically disperses, causing change, irreversibly. Think of a group of atoms jostling, at first as a vigorous motion happening in some corner of the atomic crowd, they hand on their energy, loud, inducing close neighbors to jostle too, and soon the jostling disperses too, the irreversible change but the potion of the random, motiveless motion. And such does hot metal cool, as atoms swirl, there being so many atoms in the world outside it than in the block metal itself that entropy's statistics average themselves. The illusions of purpose lead us to think that there are reasons, of some motive link, why one change occurs and not another, and even that there are reasons that cover specific changes in locations of energy, the energy choosing to go there, intentionally. Such as a purpose for a change in structure, this being as such as the opening of a flower, yet this should not be confused with energy achieving to be there in that specific bower. Since at root of all the power, even that of the root of the flower, that there is the degradation by dispersal, this being mostly non-reversible and universal. The energy is always still spreading densely, even as some temporarily located density, an illusion of specific change in some region rearranged, but actually it's just lingering there, discovering, until new opportunities arise for exploring the consequences but of random opportunity, beneath which purpose still vanishes entirely.
Events are the manifestations of overriding probabilities, instantiations of all of the events of nature, of every sort, from the bouncing ball to conceptions of gods, of even free will, evolution, and all ambition. For thereof are simple ideas, elaborations, although for the latter stated there, and such for that as warfare their intrinsic simplicity is buried more deeply. And yet though sometimes concealed away, the spring of all creation is just decay, the consequence and instruction of the natural tendency to corruption. Love or war become as factions through the agency of chemical reactions, the actions being the chains of reactions, whether thinking, doing, or wrapped in attention, for all that happens is of chemical reaction. At its most rudimentary bottom, chemical reactions are rearrangements of atoms, these being species of molecules that with perhaps additions and deletions then go on to constitute another one, by fate, although they sometimes only change shape, but two can be consumed and torn apart, either as a whole or in part, so cruel, as a source of atoms for another molecule. Molecules have neither motive nor purpose to act, neither an inclination to go on to react nor any urge to remain unreacted. So then why do reactions occur if unacted? Molecules are but loosely structured and so they can be easily ruptured, for reactions may occur if the process energy norm is degraded into a more dispersed and chaotic form, and so as they usually are constantly subject to the tendency to lose energy, as the abject jostling carries it away to the surroundations, reactions being misadventures, transformations, it then being that some transient arrangements may suddenly be frozen into permanences as the energy leaps away to other experiences. So molecules are a stage in which the play goes on, but not so fast that the forms cannot seize upon. But really, why do molecules have such fragility? For if their atoms were as tightly bound as nuclei, then the universe would have died, being frozen, long before the awakening of the forms chosen. Or if molecules were as totally free to react every single time they touched a neighbor's pack, then all events would have taken place so rapidly and so very crazily and haphazardly that the rich attributes of the world we know would not have had the needed time to grow. But it is all of the necessitated restraint, for it ever takes time a scene to paint, as such as in the unfolding of a leaf, the indurations for any stepping feet. As of the emergence of consciousness and the paused ends of energy's restlessness, it's of the controlled consequence of collapse rather than one that's wholly precipitous. So now all is known of our hares and nows within this parenthesis of the eternal bows, as well as the why and how of it all has come, and of our universe's end, but that others become.
Out of energy's dispersion and decay of quality comes the emergence of growth and complexity. The verse lines, being like molecules warmed, continually broke apart and reformed about the rhymes which tried to be non-intrusions, eventually all flexibly stabilizing to conclusions.
Like slow fires making their brands it breathes, yet ever consumes and moves on as more it feeds, then spreads forth anew this unpurposed dispersion, an inexorable emergence with little reversion. All becomes from its glorious excursions through the change that patient time restrains, it feasting upon the glorious decay remains in its progressive march.